Welcome to Stephen AI TV. Right, this week on Scumbags of the Week, we're taking a little trip through the courts of Louth, or Loud, where it seems the connection between actually committing a crime and facing any real punishment has, well, it's packed its bags and gone on holiday. Let's get into it. He struck a security man once in the face. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Just a straightforward statement of fact from the court. One punch, a man goes down, hits his head. But believe me, that single moment, it's just the opening act for a whole week of offenses that'll leave you asking if the scales of justice are even plugged in anymore. Okay, so let's meet our main man, our lead contender for this week's Scumbags of the Week, Joel McGuire from Dundalk. That's Dundaok. This is a man whose rap sheet is longer than a traffic jam on the M50 on a Friday. Now look at the rhythm of this. June, he's drunk and abusive. A month later, in July, he's urinating in a Garda van. Fast forward a year, July 6th, he's assaulting a security guard. And then just 1 week later, 1 week, he's burgling a house. The man just does not have an off switch. 31. Let that sink in. 31 previous convictions. 31 times before all this, he has stood in a courtroom. So you'd think, wouldn't you, that he'd be getting a bit smarter about how he goes about his business? Yeah, you'd be wrong. I mean, you couldn't make this up. In the middle of robbing a house, he leaves a handbag in the attic with his own ID in it. It's almost helpful, you know? Saves the guard eye a bit of legwork. What a considerate fella. And here's the excuse. His own solicitor said he was effectively out of control. And you know what? After 31 convictions and leaving your ID at a crime scene, I'm kind of tempted to agree. But being out of control doesn't seem to stop him from consistently making life miserable for everyone else, does it? So, for the assault, for the burglary, for a string of other thefts, for peeing in a Garda van, and with 31 priors, what's the grand total? 12 months. 12 months in custody. That's the price tag. We'll be coming back to that idea. All right, next up we have Jemu Giwa, another resident of Dundalk. He decided that fleeing from the Gardaí was a much better idea than just stopping. And that decision had absolutely life-altering consequences for a young officer who was just doing her job. Just picture that for a second. Her feet lift off the ground. The force of him barreling into her was so great that it literally lifted her into the air. But what he did next, well, that tells you everything you need to know about him. The judge himself pointed this out. He didn't just crash into her in panic. No, he knocked her to the ground, and then he used her injured body as leverage, as a prop, to push himself back up so he could keep running. The judge called it a blatant disregard for her safety. I'd call it something else. And here's the whole story in one table. On the left, the Garda. A fractured shoulder, a concussion that lasted 7 weeks, she's out $7,000, and she can no longer play sports. Her life is permanently changed. On the right, the man who did it, with 16 previous convictions, 2 years and 3 months with a bit of it suspended. And that apology? It wasn't to her. It was to the court. Okay, now for a quick fire round. A few other gems that passed through the courts this week. Think of it as the lightning round of questionable justice. First up, Ingrida Sekaleosina. She drives her car into a motorcyclist, hitting him hard enough to break his collarbone, a seriously painful injury. So what's the penalty for this lapse in concentration? A fine of €101. So there you have it. A broken bone is officially worth 101 quid in County Louth. Next on the list, Kieran Barker. He decided the best place to get very intoxicated and cause a scene was Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital in Drogheda. That's Drohada. You know, that place full of sick people, injured people, and the staff trying to look after them. Perfect spot. And here's the kicker. His punishment? Not a fine, not community service, no. A €300 donation to the court poor box. So you get hammered and cause trouble in a hospital, and the solution is to give to charity? Make it make sense. Then we have Bridget Patricia McDonough. Let's see. Drove straight through a red light, had a tire so worn down the court report called it extremely bald, had no valid safety certificate, no NCT. Basically, a dangerous, uninspected weapon on wheels being driven recklessly. So why wasn't this sorted out on the day? Well, the case was adjourned. Because the prosecuting Garda is on his honeymoon. So justice takes a little break. Hope he's having a lovely time, truly, but in the meantime, the rest of us just have to dodge the dodgy cars.
And to round us off, John Hardy, caught driving with no insurance. Was it his first time? No. Second time? No. This was the third time he was caught. And his punishment for being a 3-time offender? He has to complete a driver awareness course. I'm sure that'll do the trick.
So you're probably seeing it by now, right? This isn't just a few random, isolated stories from the local news. There's a pattern here, a really frustrating one.
Let's just put it all together. You've got your repeat offenders, your career criminals like McGuire with his 31 priors or Jiwa with 16. You've got consequences that are just, frankly, insulting. €101 for breaking a man's collarbone. You've got the donation defense, where it looks like you can just pay into a court fund to make a problem go away, like Kieran Barker did. You've got the whole system grinding to a halt because someone's on holiday. And through all of it, who pays the real price? The victims. Physically, emotionally, and financially. Every single time.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one question. Let's forget all the other complexities for a minute and just focus on this. A man's collarbone is broken by a driver. The driver is fined €101. Was that justice? I genuinely want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Because when you strip everything else away, it all comes down to this simple idea. Accountability isn't just a nice suggestion. It's supposed to be the absolute foundation of a society that actually works. And when you look at this week's cases, you really have to ask yourself, is that foundation starting to crumble? And that's the latest from Stephen AI TV.